Hi, class. Welcome back. Today is we're going to go through chapter 11. But before we do that, I just wanted to make sure that you know that the assignment due on the 1st of December, the group assignment, and also next week, which is the week on the I believe is on the 8th of November, which is the next class. Is you have a test, multiple choices, and it's multiple choices. It could be 20 questions and 10 or 20 questions, depend. And I'll give you enough time for it. So mark yourself that next week you will have a test. Let me know if you have any multiple choices test. Let me know if you have any question. Just we'll cover all the chapters from what we have gone through yet. So please let me know if you have any question. Thank you very much. Let's start with the chapter 11 now. Wonderful. In chapter 11, what we will be covering is global strategy and how you, as an international company or multinational company, will be entering in a market, whether you're a product or a service. So within this chapter, there is few definitions that you need to know. Is first of all, the strategies, which is the action that manager takes to attain the goal of the firm. And we spoke about earlier about if you have a small boat, you can maneuver very easily to go from point A to B. But if you have a big ship, then you have multiple people on, you cannot maneuver easily. You have to build a strategy, a plan of how to move from A to B. That's where should everybody be aware of it, because there's certain gas or diesel or whatever you're using should be there. The move is should be very studied, and everybody is aware of how this move happen. This is the same thing. If it's a small company, then it's easy to maneuver, easy to establish your strategy and change it, maybe. But if it's a big company, mid-sized to big company, it's very difficult to do that. So the strategies is our action that manager takes to attain the goal of the firm. Now, profit is the difference between the total revenue and the total cost. How much costs you minus how much is you selling minus how much is costing you. The profitabilities is the ratio, not the profit. The profitabilities is the ratio of rate of return on the concept. So it's a profit minus total revenue minus total cost. Now, profit is defined as a difference between total revenue minus and total cost, and return on sales is defined as profit, overall profit, or profit over the total revenue. So the profit divided by total revenue, that's the return on rate of return on sales. Now, we are in the business of creating values. The customers usually doesn't pay for the cost or doesn't pay the price. He pays mostly because he pays that price because he sees a value in it, and that value should be more than the price in order for him to pay. Now let's look at it. The value creation is a group of activities that increase the value of goods or services to the consumers. So the consumer, in order to take your stuff, take things and be happy and comes back again, he should be seeing a value in it. Now, if you look at it, for example, if we are looking at the cost of production at certain level, now we are selling at not at the cost, we're selling at certain price, and the price is uh, price minus cost, which is the profit. So we are selling at the certain price. But with if you want the customer to buy your stuff, they should see much higher value in it in order for them to pay the price. It's just like a trade, and if anybody doesn't see a benefit in it, it doesn't do the trade. So really, what you see here, the the value minus the price is the consumer surplus, is where the consumer he likes, he sees a profit benefits in it. But what the price minus the cost here is the profit margin is when you produce something and trying to selling it at higher price than the cost, then you will be going profit margin. And then you have what you call value added, which is the total value minus the cost, which is that's the value added here. You can look at it. So this is the part of value added where customers can look at it and start purchasing the good you have. Now, there is two basic for value creation. The two basic conditions determining a firm profit, as we know, is the amount of value that customer place on the firm's goods and services, sometimes referred to as a perceived value, and the firm cost. So if they put a value of $10 and you put it at $12, they're not gonna buy it. But if you put up a value, they put up a value of $15 and you put it at $10, they will buy it. So it depends on the value of the customers. On the other hand, the other side of profit is the firm cost of production. So if it's costing you $5 and you put it $10, then you are making, and people buy it, then you're making $5. But if you cost you $2 and you put it $8 or $10, still people will buy it. You cannot, they the difference between cost is the firm cost production. In general, the more value customer place on the firm product, the higher the price of the firm can charge for those products. So if you notice some companies, they making a much more higher profit is because the consumers see more value in their products, so they are pricing it according to the value that the consumer sees it. Now, value creation. Note, however, the price of a firm charges for a good or service is typically less than the value. As we said in earlier, we said that consumer will buy your good because they will see they trading their money for some other goods that they are going to obtain, whether service or good, but they have to profit from it. And this is where consumers is paying for your price. So the note, the price a firm charges for a good or a service is typically less than the value placed on the good or service by consumer. Many times you buy something and you say it's not worth it and I'm not going to buy it again because suddenly you see that there is not much value in it. This is because the customer captured some of that value in the form of economists call a consumer surplus. As we saw in the first early slide, because customers has to see there is a consumer surplus there. There is a value that they receive higher than the price they are paying, because the price they are paying is their cost, and they have to make, getting more value in it. The customer is able to do this because the firm is competing with other firms for the customer business. Why customer should not will not pay for your product at the price you're asking if they cannot see more value in it. So if there is a value in it and there are so many goods in the market, they will pay your price because they might see the value in your products more than the others similar that they're competing from it. So the firm as a value chain. Now we're not looking at a cost and production prices. We're looking at the value, how the company, how the firm can create a value. It is useful to think of the firm as a value chain composed of series of distinct values creation activity, including production, marketing and sales, material management, R&D, human resources, information system, and the firm. You can break down the activities and see how much each sector that we mentioned can contribute in the value of the company, of the final product. And also, we can categorize these values creation activities by the primary activities and the support activities. Now, in the support activities, usually you look at the company infrastructure, how quick they can produce, how quality of producing, and all these. It's there's another support the human resource, number of manpower, how they're treating the people, how they, producing better information system and materials management. These are the support activities. The primary activities that add value to the chain, to value chain, and we consumer can see it is research and development, production, the marketing and sales, and services. So these are the things that consumer sees it. The research, the more you notice the mobile, the more there is advanced features in it, or the more you are more interested in it because of the research and development. The production, the more quality in the production, you would be more interested in it. How do they market their product? How they sell it? But after they market and sell it, what kind of service they provide? And these are the what you call the primary type of a value chain. Now, the firm as a value chain, what we said is the primary activities, like a primary activities, have to do with the design, the creation, and the delivery of the product. It is marketing and its support after sales, as we said, like here, what you saw. And primary activities are broken into four productions, which is we said research and development, R&D, production, and marketing and sales, and service. These are the primary activities. Now, there is, we said, the support activities, which is the second half, the top. This is what you call support activities. And support activities provide input that allows the primary activity to take a place. That's how you define it. They can do things that allow the primary activity to take things into place. The material management, for example, the human resource function, these are if people are more happy, can produce happier, produce better. The information system, which is the electronic system for managing inventories, tracking sales, the pricing. These are all support activities, selling the products, dealing with the consumer customer service inquiry, what kind of inquiry, and so on. These are what you call the support activities that add value to the product, which is added value chain as a value chain. Now, when it's come to the role of the strategy in their business or a firm, strategies are often concerned with identifying and taking that will lower the cost of value creation and will differentiate the firm product offering through superior design, quality, service, function, and so on. So what they're trying to do here, they trying to have a better value, higher value perceived, and lowering the cost of doing these stuff, like having better design, and lowering the cost, better quality, functionality, and so it make things cheaper than the competition. That's one of the cost saving, but make things good enough or better to be the interest of consumer, and that's what will create the value. Now, profiting from a global expansion, how we going to apply all these what we learn in the global expansion, and how what are we looking at in the international operations? The firms that operate internationally are able to realize the location economies. So uh, whether it's cheaper to produce there, or able to realize the cost in the economy. If the cost is cheaper there, the location, whether you want to produce beside the consumers, that's a location. The cost, if you want to produce in where there is a lots of oil, that's one thing, or better manpower, that's another thing. The third thing is earn a greater return from the firm distinctive skills or core competencies. The other thing that you need to look at, where is the core competencies? What is makes this company special? Is there a, where there is the strength? For example, if you look at the different type of education, there is some education colleges and universities emphasize on research, and some of them emphasize on teaching. And they look at the core competencies, whether it's a research and coming up with the studies or teaching, and you can differentiate. They emphasize on one of these two, and if they can combine the both, that's fine. But most of the time, you need to really focus on the core competency. Earn a greater return by leveraging any valuable skill developed in a foreigner operation. So if there is a skill being developed in China and you think it could beneficial to operate in Canada or USA, like what's G5 is happening, then you can leverage that. But come back to the number three, uh, there is always have to be, you have to look at what's your core competencies, what makes you special, whether if you're a company, and you need to focus on and grow on it. Now let's look at the location economies, which is the first one. Countries differ along a range of dimension, including could be social, could be technological, could be economical, could be political and legal, and these differences can either raise or lower the cost of doing business in that country. So when you're expanding internationally, these dimensions, you need to look at them. How much it's costing you as an operation there, as a business wise, and you need to take it into consideration to choose which company, which country you're going to select, and how much the price you're going to put on. Now, location economies. There is might you facing a trade barrier, as we explained in the last class. There, like one of the trade barriers between Japan and USA. Canada took advantage of it and established the the factories of Japanese in Canada and the factories of USA in Canada, and they start trading to them. So the trade barriers and the transportation costs permitting, the firm will benefit by basing each value creation activity in the performs at the location where economics, political, and cultural condition, including relative factor costs, are most conducive to the performance of the activity. As we said in the last chapter, we said like, and we brought the example of Canada when they established. USA did not accept put some trade barriers on the products that coming from Japan and take so long to come to USA. In return, Japan put trade barriers on products that coming from USA. But there were no trade barriers between USA and Canada and being Japan and Canada. So the Japanese factories and the US factories came and established manufacturing here. And because there is no trade barriers with these two countries, and with the vis-a-vis Canada, so it was easier to export from Canada to USA Japanese product, and easier to export from Canada to Japan American originally product. So these are one of the reasons we talk about trade barriers. Firms that pursue a strategy can realize what refers to as location economies, the economies that arise from forming a value creation activity in the optimal for that activity. Now, we come to talk about the experience effect. Companies or countries with more experience, there is an effect on them. And there is a three type. There is what you call experience effect, it is called learning effect, and economies of scale. In the experience system effect, a systematic reduction in a production costs that have been observed to occur over the life of a product. It is after so many working with these product, producing this product, that firms is knows how to put it systematically in order to produce certain product with a less cost and less damages, because damages in the product is also is part of the cost. So they are generating some kind of a experience curve. And the learning effect is different because when I'm doing something first time, it's going to take me longer time. But as the time passes and keep doing this again, it's going to takes me less time. So there's where we call a learning effect, cost saving that comes from learning by doing. And then you have the economies of scales, and you took it in macroeconomic, refers to a reduction in unit cost achieved by producing a larger volume of product. You know, there is a fixed cost and there is a variable cost. And the variable cost is per unit. Fixed cost, it's there whether you produce or something or not. And always fixed cost divide by unit you produce. So the more you produce your unit, you add the both together, you will have a better, lower cost. So the experience curve, it comes from unit cost. So when you're producing glass, the more you produce, then the cost comes down because now you are pretty good at producing these stuff. And this is what you call the experience cost. Now, the experience curve. The strategy significant of the experience curve is clear. How it's clear? Is first you're moving downward the experience curve, allowing your firm to reduce the cost of creating value. As we saw in this, the more you produce, the more unit costs reduce. The second, the firm that moves down the experience curve most rapidly will be more cost advantage because now it's costing them cheaper, so they become more competitive. The experience curve. One key to progressive downward on the experience curve is sorry. One key to progressive downward on the experience curve as rapidly as possible is to increase the value produced by a single plant as rapidly as possible. So you have a manufacturing, you have a lot of machineries who can produce 1 million units per product, but you're producing only 100,000. The more you create demand, the more you can expand, the more there is more customers, the better for you. The cost will go down, and you can compete much better, and you can produce at a lower cost. Now, leveraging core competencies. As we said in the earlier, you need to look at what's your core competencies. And if you notice, you pay look a little bit deeper in the, for example, the telecommunication. You will see companies. You will see some companies are good in voice, that they are their core competency. Some of them are good in the internet. That's how they look at their business core competencies. Some of them are, could be in other type of communication like products. That's how they look at them. So you need to look at the core competency, and we've got the education. Some of them are good in research and development, some of them are good in teaching or customer service, student services, and some, and they focus on this. um, so the term core competency refers to the skills within the firm that competitors cannot easily match it or imitate it. So if your university or a college is strong in research and development, the other who is good in teaching, they cannot compete with these people in that field. They will stay strong because they might not have the skills that can do a research and development. Vice versa, the people who's doing in research and development in the college or university who's good in research and they cannot really teach well, so they're not having that much. So these are the two things, the core competency in education. These skills might exist in any firm value creation activities, as we said, because of their production. It could be a lower cost or better production. They could be good in marketing, as we saw, like in the beginning. For example, the iPhone was much better in marketing. Uh, and that's what they got their upper hand. And they could be good in research and development or a human resource, a general management, and anything. You need to look at what's the core competency. What makes this company is hard to compete, other companies hard to compete with them. That's what the in that field, which is that the core competencies. Now, sometimes you might not looking at the primary skills. You might be looking at the leveraging subsidiary skills. The leveraging skills create with the subsidiary and applying them to the other operation within the firm global network may create the values. For example, some companies are not good in producing things, inventing things, implementing, but they're good in selling. So these are they are their core competencies is sales or marketing. For manager of the multinational enterprise, this phenomena creates important and new challenge. They must have the humility, like to recognize that the valuable skills that led to competency can arise anywhere within the firm, a global network, and not just from the corporate. They have to see, first of all, with the skills that they have. Maybe it could be these skills is not created in the center, it can be created, it's done created in some other places. Now, pressure for the cost reduction and local responsiveness. Firms can compete in the global market, typically face two types of competitive pressure. First is the cost reduction. You need to lower the cost. And second, to be able to be locally responsive, meets the local demands. Now, pressure for the cost reduction, pressure for the we said, and pressure for the local responsive is difference in the consumer taste and preference. Differentiate the infrastructures or traditional practice, differences in the distribution challenge, and how is the government demand. And the core things between all these 4 points is two words: customization and localization. So you bring a product, you need to customize it to the need and demand of the people on that thing, and localize it to the need and demand for the local people for the that country. So you need to be customized for what maybe for a region or for a country or for a city. and also localize it is just like let them feel that this product is a local, belong to them, produce at their place, almost feel like that. Now, for example, for a cost reduction and local responsiveness, the difference in the consumer taste and preferences. There's the consumers have different tastes and have different references. Now, if we look at a pickup truck in United States and Canada is considered to be a second car, wherein a truck is considered to be a utility vehicle. So when you are marketing your product in USA or Canada, if it's a truck, you're trying to use it as a second car or a first car that you like to get. But if you're doing it in Europe, you look at it as a utility who can help you in doing things for you. Now, choosing a strategy or a strategic choice, whether how you're going to go in as a local company to international, whether you're going to go international strategy you have, or you have multi-domestic strategy, or you have a global strategy, and or you have a transitional strategy or global learning. I'll leave these points to you. Try to study more about what's the difference between the international and multi-domestic, global, and transitional strategy. They are very similar, yet they're different in a few things between each other. So look at them, you try to find out what's the difference between them. The strategic alliance. So you are a local company who wants to go to an internationally, whether you want to, expand in local or somewhere else. There is an alliance you're looking for to 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 meet your goal. And the strategic alliance means refers to cooperative agreement between potential or actual competitors. So you're not going to go for a company who does not, you need to find a match with your local current competitors or the potential one and get together and start becoming better competitive together. In the strategic alliance, what's the advantage of the strategic alliance? A strategic alliance may facilitate entry to a foreigner market. So it makes it easier for me to enter to another market with the help of the competitor. A strategic alliance allow firms to share the fixed costs. It could be, sales costs, marketing costs, or development. We will share it with our alliance. An alliance is a way to bring together complementary skills so they might be able to do better sales and marketing than us, or and the asset that neither company could easily develop its own. Together, we can have a bigger manpower where we can produce more. And we might have some kind of a technology, or they have some kind of a technology, and we share the technology together. The disadvantage of it is they give the competitors a low cost route to a new technology. You might have and market, you might have better access in local as a market, or you have a better technology, but with the alliance, you might give an access to them and cost them cheaper for them. Alliance have a risk. Unless a firm is careful, it can give away more than it receives. So you might giving trying to partner with somebody as an alliance, and they be just there to just take advantage or disadvantage of the situation. And then once they become strong, they will let go. You need to look at these things very carefully and examine them. Now, make an alliance. First, you do a partner selection, and then you build the alliance structure, how it works. And then you're managing the alliance, building the trust, how the trust you create between them. It's not only on paper, it's like activities and learning from the partners. So you learn from him, from your partner alliance, and they learn from you. These are the process of a strategic alliance and how it works. But structuring alliance is you want to make sure you build your alliance, you structure an alliance to reduce the opportunisms. Is that you want to make sure your partner who you're in alliance with them, with that company, they take less uh, disadvantage from you. And it's called the probability of opportunism by alliance partner can be reduced by walling off critical technology. If you have a certain technology that which is a core for you, core competence, you want to keep it and make sure that you don't give it away easily. Secondly, you establish a contractual safeguard. You want to make sure that lawyers get in the middle, write a good contract between both of you to 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 make sure that you get your right and they get their right. Then agree to swap valuable skills and technology. When you feel that the contract and everything is going fine, you have to kind of swap these technologies and skills where you reduce distrust and trust each other. And you start seeking the credible commitment. So you start off, say you're in your country, you need more demand, they will come and help you, or you're going down in a financial situation, they will come help you. These are what you call a creditable or a credible commitment. So here, what we have done, we finished chapter 11, and one more thing. Next week, you will have a test, multiple choices. It would be probably 20 questions. Get ready for it. It will cover all from what we have learned from chapter one up to this chapter. Okay? Have a nice day. Bye bye. Let me know if you have questions.